Welcome to Coffee and Gumbo, where we talk about all things hot, spicy, and flavorful.
Hey, Coffee and Gumbo Fam. We are back
What up,
again.
CNG fam?
All right. We are back again with another episode of Coffee and Gumbo.
Yes.
We hope that you have enjoyed the prior few episodes that we have put out thus far. We hope that this one will continue to bring you that spiciness and that flavor that we promised you. So, we're going to get started. What's going on, Stacy? How's the day treating you today?
Yeah, it's been a long day. Today was a little stressful for me at work today. So, I took my lunch break and went a little shopping and bought me some shoes to kind of make me feel better. Shoes is my thing. So I had to go try to make myself feel better. I wonder if that's my guilty pleasure.
Well, if that's your guilty pleasure, I'm in trouble too, because you know how I am about the shoes and the purses. So I guess if it is a guilty pleasure, we may need to think about that a little bit deeper. That leads us down the path of what we're doing today. I think I teased it quite well when I talked about the fact that my wonderful co-host wrote a book not too long ago called Step in My Shoes. And this is the next series that we are going to be covering on Coffee and Gumbo. And in her book, one of the chapters is called Guilty Pleasures. So, Stacy.
Yes, ma'am.
A little bit more. What are we going to do with that title there? How are we going to dig in?
Well. I think we need a little help, kind of helping us to talk about these guilty pleasures. So today we are going to bring you someone that'll help us. She is a native of Louisiana, like me. She has a passion for reading and writing. She started writing at an early age. Because her mom read, and from watching her mom, she started writing. So I am very, very happy to bring you my friend and contributing author of Step in My Shoes, Miss Roni Brown.
Hi, hey everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
we're so excited to have you.
It feels good to be in such lovely company of you two beautiful, intelligent ladies who came up with this great idea. I love the concept.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. We're glad to have you on here because we need a little bit of help talking about these guilty pleasures.
Don't we all?
We do.
Goodness gracious. I'm like, yeah, that's something, and that I enjoyed writing that chapter. How about you? That chapter was fun to write.
I did. It's so amazing because when I originally wrote it, it was completely different. I came from a completely different place. Within myself. At first I was a little, I guess I would say angry, maybe I had a story to tell. And then as it went on, that story changed. So, and I'm excited to tell you how it changed and why it changed. So
yeah. Cool beans.
Well, before you got on, we were talking about, one of our guilty pleasures we have, which tends to be involving shoe shopping, purse shopping. I'm kind of unfortunately notorious in my family for my love of those items. And I will say when I read the book and I read your chapter, you know how they say you clutch your pearls a little bit? Oh man, why is she in my business? Okay.
Right.
It made me do a little thinking. It really did. So I cannot wait to get more perspective from you in that area.
Yes. we all have things that brings us pleasure.
Mhm.
Some allow us to feel more guilty than others.
So true. So
But, again, we all have them, and it's all how you look at it and handle it and realize where it comes from.
well, that's
So
a good segue.
tell me, what do you think? What is your definition of guilty pleasure? What do you think that is?
I think guilty pleasure really is anything that just brings you happiness, pleasure. Sometimes it's secretive, right? Sometimes we have things that we do nobody else knows, and they tend to think, hey, that's my guilty pleasure. Not saying personal experience, but it could be, that 3 o'clock in the morning call, or just knowing you should say no and you don't. Or it could be the love of, like, me and you, Catrice, shopping. Guilty pleasure, it could be, just an array of things. I think it's just all how we handle that little guilty pleasure. Sometimes it's so subtle, you just don't really realize that it is a guilty pleasure, that it is a reason that you're doing what you're doing, And I used to, my mom of 2 boys, and I worked a long distance from home. So my travel time was maybe like 30 minutes to and from work each way. Well, I used to love the 30 minutes because before I worked like 10 minutes away from home. So I didn't have time to just digress and just unwind before I get home and bring all that negativity. So on that 30-minute ride home, I used to kind of, maybe indulge in stopping and smoking a cigar, and just that was my guilty pleasure.
I'm trying to picture you, Roni, smoking that cigar, girl.
Like, but never believe I smoke a cigar, puff one. But I got that from Vanessa Williams. I saw her one day. She was like, maybe at a party or something, and she had that cigar in her hand, and I thought that was the sexiest thing ever. I was like,
But you'd be surprised because a lot of
people do
very sexy.
Yeah, and a lot of women smoke cigars. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I thought it was that because I was hiding it from everyone. But as in the book, my guilty pleasure was shopping. So there was no hiding. I never, I was married, had kids, but I always had packages coming, right? And it was it wasn't hidden. It was out in the open, but I was blinded to what was happening. And, so I think we all, like, again, I said, we all have guilty pleasures, but it's just, sometimes in our lives we go through different things, and those things show up as something completely different. We think we learned our lesson learned, right? Another great chapter in the book. However, it looks different. So, you really don't think that's what that is, but yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know some people, when they even hear the word guilty pleasures, it makes you think of something negative, and it doesn't always have to be that. As you said, it could be just, hey, 30 minutes, I got this time, I'm going to do it. But, I think one of the keys in what you said, it might be something that you're hiding, but I don't want to give the whole book away, because people, y'all going to have to get this book. I'm telling you, you want to read this book, but
yes,
I would love you to delve in a little bit more into how your shopping guilty pleasure, how did it impact you to the point where it may have turned into something different?
Yeah, it took years. It took years to realize what happened, what was happening, because it, like, again, I said, it starts so subtle. We all shop, right? Shop. It went from um, inside the home of maybe buying new furniture or decorating differently. And when that was over, I started on something else, and one thing led to another, and it was just oh, I love these jeans. Okay, so I have an outfit with no shoes, so now I need to get shoes, and then I bought more shoes, and I said, well, now I don't have an outfit for these shoes, so now I'm back at shopping.
I can relate.
Yes.
Yes, I can definitely relate.
Yeah, and so now, well, I need the accessories, I need the handbag, I need the, everything that goes with it. And so that's the subtleness again of it. And you just get so caught up. But for me, I was dealing with a lot. I was, it just felt like personally my life was changing. My parents were both sick, and then it was like my dad passed away, my mom passed away, my dog passed away. So I sold my home. We were my kids grew up in, moved somewhere else, and then I ended up in Texas, and so it was just all these different changes. But my guilty pleasure brought me a little happiness.
Right.
In the midst of it all, I got to have a little me time, and I could spend it shopping online. I don't know how you guys shop, but I'm like a rack shopper or a model shopper. If I see that outfit already all put together, just give me
The
all
whole
that.
thing.
I'm not the one who's like, I can put that piece with this piece, and then just make it all up. So it's much easier.
Like that. Yeah, because for me, I'm not like that. I'm a piece shopper. Like if I see a shirt that I like the shirt. So then I get home and I'm like, well, shoot, I need to wear the shirt. Wear with this shirt. So now I got to go find some pants. Then I got to find some shoes. So yeah, so I need to adopt that concept.
Yes, and so I was, I'm not a shopaholic. I don't claim to be one. But it was just my way, really, of being happy, finding a little happiness for myself. And as time went on, I realized my closet is getting full. My son is at college. He's not here. I'll take his closet. So, and then his closet became the next closet. And then I'm that person that likes my closet color coordinated. Light jeans, dark jeans, white jeans, just that way. Yeah. And so my shopping became my closet became spring, summer, fall, winter. So I was changing it out now, right? That's a lot of work. Clothes is really heavy. I had no idea when we put it all together how heavy it could be. Yeah. So that's where the pleasure started for me. It was because I was dealing with things personally. I had grief. Mine was more from grief. And it's not so much of death, but grief is just so many things. Losing a friendship. In my case, my home that my kids grew up in, and it was no longer there. So that was another kind of loss for me. It in a way, I was happy and I wasn't happy about it. So it was just, a way to deal with things for me. But then after a while, at some point, we all have to face reality and face our issues, face on and deal with it.
Yeah. Right. So you would say that guilty pleasures have pros and cons.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. The pro is, as I looked at that and I said, my con list is a little bit longer than the pros list when you look at it. Because, the pro is it's something you want and it makes you feel good, right, at the time. Yeah. Sometimes no matter what the pleasure is or the act is or the item is, for that moment, it makes sense. It makes sense for you to do what you're doing. It makes sense to have what you want to have. But then after a while, when you look back at it, you're like, yeah, you know, that probably wasn't the best decision or the smartest thing to do. But a con, I mean, out of the pros and cons, for me, it became overwhelming. Like all this stuff is now it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's a burden to me, because as long as I was in my home, I could take those things from one place to another, and it wasn't a bother. But when I moved and I had clothes here, I had clothes there, I had a season here, I had a season there, it was just a bit much. So, and you know, another con is like I realized that sometimes we do things for the pleasure of others, even though we know it's not really what I want to do or should do. And you do it and you leave there feeling guilty. You feel like, I should have done that. I should have had the strength to say no.
No. Yeah.
You know?
And you know, in the book, that's my guilty pleasure. You know, because I find pleasure in, you know, making others happy. But I had to, you know, take a step back and realize that, you know, you can't please everybody, and you got to learn how to say no. Because, you know, it was starting to be more cons than pros for me.
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
And then when we sometimes as women, you know, we wear so many hats in the day. We work, we're moms, we're the cook, the dry cleaners, the bank. It's just so many hats we wear in a day, and you're constantly taking it on and off. And when you still just like a few moments for yourself and you sit there and you have time to just indulge in something, you feel guilty. I did. I felt guilty. I'm like, but I should be doing something, right? I should be, I shouldn't have this free time. So so that was like one of the cons of the guilty pleasure.
Right. You talk yourself into making it okay.
Yeah. And after the act of maybe, like Stacy said, doing something for someone, you feel guilty. You feel you're not happy about it, but you, in that moment, you turn that switch on, right? And it's like, okay, let me be in the moment and be happy about that. And then you leave, and then you're like,
well, that didn't make me happy. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right. And eventually, our cup gets empty. Our cup, your coffee cup, it gets empty. You can't pour from an empty.
You cannot pour from an empty cup. You're absolutely right.
So I want to know, like, for someone who's in the midst of, they're listening to you and they're saying, oh my goodness, that's me. What was the trigger, or what happened that made you realize that now this is now moving out of something that was positive to this could be a problem? How did you get there?
So, like in the book, I'm talking about how my new space and with my family, who gave me, room and time to heal. And I had all these, I had my things, my clothes, right? My shoes, my accessories, all these things in a nice, big, beautiful closet. And one day I was just listening to gospel music, and I don't know if any, most people are familiar with the song. It's an old lady who sings "Come On in the Room." She's talking about, her granddaughter has been in an accident. She's looking for help, and the people who answers the door said, they were limited in what they could do, and all she asked for was a closet. And she said, I just need a closet. She said, I got to go in my praying closet, And so one day, like I said, listening to the gospel music, and that song came on, and I was, just feeling the song, and I went to the closet and I stopped right there and I was like, oh my gosh.
Mm.
I was like, look at all this stuff. It's just things, it's just stuff. And that's when I realized that was my depression.
Mm.
All the things that I was going through, I was like, look how depressed I've been,
Yes.
Yeah.
because it didn't come from just being in a happy space. It came from, I was substituting that for happiness for issues I didn't deal with, right? And no one else knew. I knew, but besides knowing that internally, I had all the other things going on, right? The losses, still dealing with losing my parents, and my baby girl Reagan. She was my dog I had for, grew up with my kids. She was like 14 years old. We had her 14 years.
Wow.
So that was like another part of the family. And that was for me my moment of realizing what my guilty pleasure had been, and what it really represented was just depression. And that's a real thing today. It's been happening. And for me, mental illness, mental health is a real, that subject is real and near and dear to my heart, because my family suffered with that, and no one really knew what it was. And if you go to Louisiana or down south, you'll hear people say, getting on my nerves, right? My nerves are bad. And it's anxiety. Anxiety is a part of depression, right? Because we're anxious. We're, something that causes us to be anxious. And that's not a place I wanted to end up being, was, depressed and having to deal with another issue.
Right.
So at that moment, I'm a visual person. So like I finally got to see the forest for the trees, the depression that was really in front of me. I sat with I grabbed my iPad and I started drawing a little person, the face and the body, right? Little stick person. I can't draw. But all around me, I just started making boxes of all the issues I felt I had.
Wow. That
caused the depression, that caused the shopping, that caused the guilty pleasures. And so after a while, I stopped and looked at that iPad, what I drew on it. And I meant to put it in the book, but I forgot. When I looked at that, just like I looked at my closet, it was like, just something that just slapped me in my face, like, oh my gosh, these are all the things that I'm dealing with. And I can't function in chaos. If there's disorganization, if things are out of place around me, I can't rest with that. And that's where I was in my life. I was restless, So, yeah.
So guilty pleasures, just, I know a lot of times for both of us, it was coming from a place that we did not want to be. But on the flip side of that, even though, we say guilty pleasures, it could be something that's pleasurable, could be something that you really, really enjoy doing. And like you spoke about the cigar, it could be something that, most people think is not a good thing, but it's really not anything to be guilty about. It's it's a pleasurable thing, and it's okay,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think really, to me, when you talk about it being good, I know I'm coming from a perspective kind of what's negative that turned into something good that got me to a place, a little journey I had to go on. But I realized, I was a mom, a wife, an only child taking care of my parents who lived 4 hours away. And it was just, I was always doing something. So when I got that moment to myself, my free time, it was guilt, right? And there's nothing to be guilty about. That's a
Right.
good thing. It's a good thing to step back, take some time, and get yourself together, take care of your mental health and just relax and not do anything. And when, as I know for me, if I didn't do anything, if I wasn't moving or something, I felt guilty.
Right.
Yeah, I felt guilty. So that, and it's not, it's for yourself. Yeah.
So I want to know, I'm sure even once you realize, the trigger, you realize, oh, this is what this is, I'm sure life kept on lifing, as they say.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. So now, how do you keep from going back there? How do you keep from letting it happen again?
When I illustrated on my iPad what I was going through, the what I felt was all around me and in my boxes that I was dealing with, that reminds me, I started, as I saw it on my iPad, I said, okay, I can handle this. It put it into perspective, into little pieces where I didn't have to handle everything all at once right now. Okay, I could take this box and I could deal with this little one and scratch this off. And I could take another box and, oh, this is simple. It really wasn't a burden at all, but I thought it was because it was on top of everything else. So as I started checking those boxes off and my picture was coming clearer, for me, that's what stays in the back of my mind to ensure I don't go back there, because I had to get back to my center. Like this picture, I may be out this way, I may be all over the place, top and bottom, but if I can get centered where I am in my life, I'm able to have balance and deal with situations that are that doesn't have to become such a burden.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's how, for me, I avoid going back to that place. And I really realized, I looked at my house, I looked at my closet. I said, these are all things. And at one point I said, I don't want things. I don't want anything to weigh me down. I don't want a lot of clutter. I don't want a lot of this. I don't want a lot of that. And I did. I decluttered everything.
Wow.
I decluttered everything. But if you don't pay attention, all those little things could come back. It could be subtle, one at a time. You got more shoes because you have more space.
Right.
You have more furniture because you have more space. You got rid of this, you got rid of that. So my motto was getting back to my center, living simply. And really, my closet, it's my praying closet. It was no longer my burden. It was where I could just sit on the floor. I could pray. I could be thankful. I could be grateful. I could be obedient and just ask God for me to walk in my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's deep.
That's deep. That's good.
That is good. That is good.
Yeah.
So what would you say, or what advice would you give to someone that may feel like, just to throw out some examples out there, maybe someone that has an obsession for, I don't know, a sex obsession, or an obsession for, just something that the society sees as something bad, but this is something that they really like to do. Right. Maybe they, really like to, like you said, smoke cigarettes, or, I mean, I know that's like cigarettes is bad, but I mean, maybe they really like to, be a polygamist or something like that, but it's really, sometimes, like you said, we can have those ones that, so what if it's bad to society? It's not harming anybody. So is it really something bad?
Well, I would say guilty pleasures, bad habits is kind of in the eye of the beholder, like um whatever the pleasure or the secret you may keep or the habits you may have, knowing is half the battle. If you don't stop to recognize this is a problem, I know I have a problem. Do I want to fix my problem? Like, um, for instance, my mom was a smoker, and as she got sicker, she became a heavy chain smoker, right? It was just really, really bad. And, I was like, but you could quit. You have quit. You've done it before. She said, but I don't want to.
Right.
I like to smoke. This is what I like to do. And I said, well, okay, if you're going to do it, can you at least do it in moderation? Can you do it to where nothing about it is healthy, right? But, not every pleasure is something that's unhealthy. It may be something society deem as shameful or, whatever. It's plenty of people who believe, sexual orientation or what you do.
Right.
In your bedroom, oh, I would never do that. But okay, so you don't do that, but this person does. Not to be judgmental, but the I think the first step is to recognize you do have a problem. Okay, now that I know I have a problem, what do I want to do? Create a plan. Do I want to fix this problem? Do I want to address it? And if so, get some help. I mean, we're scared to go to therapy, right? I talked about that in my book. Going to my annual visit, and that's how I began speaking with a therapist. And it was really helpful. Not so much for her to fix anything, but it's because she wouldn't be biased to me about whatever I said, because she didn't know me like that. She didn't know anything. But I could just talk and tell my story, share my feelings, and she put things into perspective for me, helped me after I illustrated how I felt. And so she kind of gave me some tools to work with. So, that's what, yeah.
Like we said last night, a no judgment zone.
Right. I think the older we get, the more we mature. And I know I definitely have. I could say, before all this, it was like I needed everything, like, gotta have it right now. It needs to be done like yesterday. And now my approach is, you know what? Just calm down. Calm down, think about it, pray about it, and, have more patience. Have more patience, not only with others, but with yourself. We forgive others all the time, but we forgive ourselves. We don't let it go. We internalize everything, right? And so now we have anxiety and depression, as a result. So I know that's not how I wanted to live. And when I was ready to face my fears, it was nothing no one could tell me you should be ready right now. It's just something you have to experience and go through yourself, Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said at the beginning that when you first wrote this, it wasn't. I caught that. I caught that. You said that you ended up having to. So was that like almost kind of a little bit of therapeutic, like having to give yourself permission almost to speak your truth, or to really, because that's a big step when anybody who writes a book or does something where you're leaving a piece of yourself out there and open for all kind of interpretation. So I want to just kind of find out, like, what happened there where you said, you almost had to do it twice, or.
Well, again, I was coming from a different place in my life, with all the grief, the depression, the changes. So I I'm sorry. I have so much to say about it, and I just kind of lost my train of thought. We were,
Yeah, I was saying, you know, what made it change for you? Like,
gotcha. Yes. So, I thank Stacy for the opportunity. She presented me with the opportunity to co-author this book with her, and another great person. So what happened was I was angry at the time. I was like, I have a story to tell. I have all this to get out of me, and I was going and I was writing, and I had been writing, and all of this I could put on paper now. And so as we were going through the process and the chapters, and I was going through healing, I was healing. I didn't realize as I was writing this anger, it wasn't just anger for guilty pleasures. It was anger throughout the whole book. I mean, every chapter had just anger in it. And I read it and I said, that's not where I am. And this is not the place. And that is not the story I want to tell. That's not the place I want to come from internally. And at that point, which was, maybe 2 years after dealing with all this, I was in a more peaceful place. I wasn't broken, and I was at peace. And listening to church music again, gospel music, I started writing the guilty pleasure. Excuse me. I started writing lessons learned differently. And so I think it was more of a spiritual it was more of a spiritual rewrite in a place it's coming from, instead of being angry, and I'm like, this being angry, we all have something to be angry about, but I want to write about how good God has been, and he laid this all out with different people in my life, that I never knew I would need, or who he would send my way, that I was just glad they were obedient enough to even come to me and approach me with it. So I had to be, grateful to listen and still be obedient to him and say, okay, I'm working through this. So that's why I changed it. I didn't want to be angry. I wrote it, and I didn't need to share that. I wanted to share the good part, the journey, how my parents, it started with my parents, and they just instilled things in me that, I didn't know I would need down the line, because as parents, I think one of our hardest lessons is to teach our children to not need us, to not, because we raise our children and we want to do everything for them and not let them learn lessons along the way. Because if you don't have that experience, how can you learn? Mama used to say, how can you appreciate the sun if it wasn't for the rain? So
and that's why when we were talking and y'all like, so how many pages do you want me to write? I said, no, we are not going to put a limit on how much you can write or how much you can't write, because I want you to be able to tell your story. I don't want you to leave anything out. I don't want it to be limited. I want you to be able to express yourself the way you want to express yourself. And
I'm grateful. I just was laying in my bed listening to gospel one Sunday morning, and I just had a whole new revelation and perspective of how things were, and that's how it started. Really, that's how it started, and I was, to this day, I could be proud of what I wrote.
Yes, you should be. You should.
And I feel like, may not touch everybody, but somebody, just somebody. So.
It touched me. I had to walk away a couple of times and say, "Ooh."
Yeah, and we all had great stories to tell, different perspectives, and it allowed us to be, like you said, it takes courage to write a book.
You have to be vulnerable
about yourself, because it allows you, it opens that door to be vulnerable, and people know, like, even my friends had no idea who I was close with I had no idea until they read the book and they said, now I understand all these things, that I was recognizing along the way makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I coming from Louisiana, we were raised different. We were raised very strict rules, and we were told one thing and it was like, don't ask why. You just so along, days like that, some of the things I find myself like some of the things that I was taught to do or taught not to do per se, and now that I'm older and I feel like those things are okay. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, but I was taught that this was wrong. Is it really wrong? Like, is like you're supposed to get up in the morning, the first thing you should do is make up your bed. We were taught that the first thing you do is make up your bed in the morning. So like when I don't make up my bed in the morning,
you're guilty.
Am I, I feel good about not doing it. In the back of my mind, I'm like, but this wasn't how I was taught. So I'm like, this is not I'm finding pleasure in not making up my bed because I don't have to do it now because there's nobody here to tell me that this is what I have to do. So it's kind of like that, that catch-22 is like, is it really a guilty pleasure or is it not a guilty pleasure? Like, am I really doing something wrong? But I'm looking at it as like, shoot, I ain't killing nobody. This is my bed. And if I don't want to make it up, then I'm okay with doing it.
Right.
And I feel like as far as guilty pleasures go, if you're not harming somebody and it's something that you really feel like really find pleasure in doing, hey, it's all on you. Go for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Also throw in there if you're not harming yourself too.
Right.
You're not harming anybody, you're not harming yourself.
Yes.
Go for it, child. Go for it.
Life is too short. Yeah.
If you find pleasure in it and you're not harming nobody or not harming yourself,
I would feel guilty for sleeping in late on Saturdays.
Yes.
Like I should really be up. And then I'm like, to do what? There's nobody to take care of.
Right.
Kids are out here.
Like I said, coming from Louisiana, we were raised, you get up on Saturday mornings and what we doing?
Clean the house.
Cleaning up. We cleaning up.
They do that where I come from in Chicago too. Your mama got the music playing. It's like, get out that bed and come on in here and clean.
Yes.
Yep.
Who's married, he lives in Colorado. He's like, Mom, I appreciate, all those things. He's like, because on Saturday mornings, I used to hate when I hear the music coming on at the time. He was like, but now that I'm grown and have my own family, he's like, I totally get it. And he does those
things. Some of those things still stick with me because, of course, when you get up on Saturday morning, you're going to clean the house until everything is done. And after everything is done, then you sit down and rest, or then you play, or whatever it is that you want to do. So even now, like, it's hard for me, no matter how tired I am, it's hard for me to just sit if I know I gotta, clean my kitchen or I got laundry to do. I can't just sit knowing that these are things that I have to do, so, but sometimes I find pleasure in like, okay, it'll wait.
Let my room.
I'll do it later.
Let's make the bed today. The world won't fall apart and I won't either, right?
Right.
But have you guys you've heard of Warren Buffett, right?
Oh yeah. One of the richest men in the world.
Yes. And for years, he has a saying that I absolutely just love, which ties into a lot of things in our life. And it says, chains of habit. Now listen to this, I need you to soak it in. It says, chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken.
Okay, I need you to say that one more time.
Yeah, come on with it again.
Chains of habit shopping are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken.
I like that.
Because see, habits subtly come into your life, and before you know it, it's there, it's overwhelming, it has become too much until you try to break it, right? And now you got it so easily, but oh my gosh, to get rid of it, it's a burden, it's a heavy burden. It's hard to do.
Like losing weight.
Oh, that's a whole nother thing.
It's only 1 pound.
Another whole nother show.
Pounds, you know, until right? It becomes too much. So, you know, I said that to say because when I looked back at myself and just all the little light shopping and guilty pleasures and things I did, you know, even beyond that, sometimes we get people in the habit of them getting so comfortable that they know you're going to take care of whatever they have going on, right? And so when you break away from that and give them back that issue and let them handle it, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, it really is hard to do. So, you know, one day that came across and I read that and it just resonated so much with me that I've always kept that with me. And I hear that in the back of my mind. Yeah. Chains of habits are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. Yeah. I like that.
Y'all hear that, Coffee and Gumbo Fam? That was right. I'm gonna write that on the sticky. That going on. That might need to go on the mirror.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yes. Absolutely.
Maybe when you bought that first thing, it didn't seem like a lot, but like you say, when you open the doors to that closet and it's like, oh my.
I didn't realize I had all this stuff.
And now you have to deal with it.
Yeah. What am I?
The not saying no when you really wanted to say no.
My youngest son said, Mom, he's like, I'm just telling you right now. He's like, you have given me almost like a panic attack when it comes to clothes. And I'm just telling you right now, if something happened to you, I'm just gonna give all that away because I can't deal with it.
Yes, ma'am.
With that.
We're not gonna talk about it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I got shoes everywhere. Everywhere, in every class.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So those are physical things that we see, right? And we could see, feel, touch, smell, you know, but what are the mental things, those little mental guilty pleasures we have? And it could be, again, not forgiving ourselves for something we did a long time ago. And, you know, you don't let it go.
Or loneliness, you know, it feels the time. You know, I think about during COVID, how many, I was getting Amazon, the smile box was coming through here, smiling at me probably way too much, you know, because you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything, and it gave you that little bit of gratification and satisfaction. And you know, you get stuff and you're saying, now I'm buying clothes and I can't even go nowhere. What's that all about?
Right, really?
What's that about?
Right. But when I do get to go,
I'm gonna be cute.
Right.
If we could still fit it.
Exactly. That was the other piece of that. Yes.
That's another thing.
Yeah, we could still fit it. So, you know, I'm happy I wrote the book. I'm happy you, Stacy, invited me into a project you were working on for your own personal reason. Yeah, absolutely. Get your copy.
Yes. We're going to tell our audience where in the comments we're going to have the link on where you guys can go and be literally blessed with this book. Every chapter has something for someone, and I love the fact that we get 3 different perspectives on a subject. And
Absolutely.
I caught myself in all three. They all
Yeah,
resonated with me.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm
And,
your
and
biggest cheerleader.
although I've read this book like 1, 2, 3, 20 times, I still keep it by my bed, and
And
sometimes
find something new.
I'll read it, but it's like almost reading it again for the first time because I was like, oh, like I read that, but now it really resonated with me. It's soaked in. I say, did I really write that?
Yeah.
Was that my mindset? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And
yeah,
y'all just don't know who you are really helping. I was telling Stacy, I gifted the book to a friend of mine who I knew was going through grief, and I could tell she was holding a lot in. And she told me to tell you that when she read some of your chapters, she had the biggest release. She cried for the first time. And
Wow.
so I thought it gave me chills, and I
Yeah.
thought the
Wow.
power of the pen and the word,
Yes. Because
it can be soothing, healing.
And when she told me that, I was like, hey, my work is done. Like,
yeah.
that's the purpose. That's the
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. And see, like I said, initially, I was coming from a place of being bitter and angry, right? And I think the first chapter, which is it's
All the
crazy,
single ladies.
all the single ladies. And that's, I mean, all the stories are good, but you're talking about your friend going through grief. And that's where I talk about my grief. And I had no intentions of writing about that. And the book I received and how it just said everything I felt. And in that moment, I was on my journey to healing,
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm forever grateful for my family member who sent that book to me. And here it is in another book,
Yeah.
and helping somebody else. So that's great, you
Yeah.
know. Job done. Well done.
Yes, like you said,
Finished.
if you can touch just one, well, you've done that. I'm sure it's gonna
That's
be
right.
it's many more out there, and it's gonna be many more to come. So kudos and to the both of you guys. This is just it's awesome.
Well, thank you guys for
So,
having me.
so
This was so much fun, and really, it was like therapy all over again. Because
well,
sometimes
any last words
Yeah, any
for anybody that may feel like are in limbo about something, that a habit or something that they may wonder, hey, am I doing something wrong here? Is this something guilty? Should I feel guilty about it, or how do I handle this guilty pleasure?
right. I would say, for me, write it down. Let's take a look at it. Let's read that out loud because it sounds differently than when we just have it in our head. When we see it on paper, and from there you're able to say, okay, whatever this guilty pleasure is, or whatever issue I'm dealing with, now that I see it, I'm holding it in my hands. I could see it, for what it is. I see it for what it is. So let me, I'll make up in my mind how and when I want to handle it. So
Right.
yeah. That's what I would say. You know, start by writing it down and at least acknowledging who it is. Because if you don't, it'll keep knocking at the door, and it'll keep you in that cycle of toxicity. You just keep doing the same thing over and over because you don't know a way out. You don't feel a way out.
Right.
But it could happen. It does happen. And there's healing. It's healing all around us. We just have to be willing to accept it, and open our minds and heart to it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. We really, really, really appreciate you, Roni. As always.
one more question. What's next for you? What are you up to next?
I'm going to say this real quick. I used to always ask, everybody has a talent. some people could sing, and I wish I could sing, but that is not my talent. That is not my thing.
Mine either.
I sing in the shower, by myself, right? So I know that's not my talent. But I always wondered, well, God, what is my talent? What am I? What is my purpose? It went from being what's my talent to now I'm asking God, what's my true purpose? I tried it my way, and now I'm asking you your way. What is my true purpose? And I was I love talking to older people, older adults. As a kid, I sat on my grandmother's porch and just listen to older people and soak up all their knowledge. So to this day, I still have people that are much older than me who are great friends. And I said, one day I'm going to find my talent. And he says, my dear, that is so easy. He's like, you're so filled with wisdom at, such a young age. And you have a lot to share with people. So from that, when he said that, words are so powerful, right? You can speak things into existence.
Yes.
And, when you think positive and speak positive, those positive things could come into your life. Yeah. And with that, I started finding my purpose and praying, and God has just been leading me towards that. And I can't wait to share it with you guys, and maybe another visit at some point.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's who knows? Maybe I think one time we at one of our book signings, I said we went from pieces to peace, right?
Pain to peace.
Pain to peace. Yes.
Okay.
And that's exactly where I came from. So, who knows? Maybe a continuation of
maybe another book.
Yay! Stories.
Okay, but we need to have the scoop. We need to, when you're ready, you need to come back and let our CNG family be the first to know.
Yes, it'll happen right here.
All right.
We're gonna hold you to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for blessing us today.
Yes.
Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story and helping us, understand, where the guilty pleasure can sometimes take you on a path that you didn't think it would.
Right.
So I know this is going to help somebody who's struggling. It helped me. It helped me. So
yeah. And again, when you, like you said, when people say guilty pleasure, sometimes they think it's something bad or erotic. And it can be so many things. It could be so many things.
Yeah.
And let's just deal with those. That's what I say. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you again, Roni. We really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is awesome.
We love having you, so we welcome you to come back again.
Anytime.
All
right.
All right.
And
thank you.
I have definitely subscribed, and will get others to do so as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We also want to touch people, so that's our goal as well.
All righty.
All righty. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Roni Brown.
All right. Bye.
Another awesome guest.
Yes. My girl Roni, she did it again. Roni is awesome.
Let's talk about how to get this book.
Just put it in the link.
I'll put in the link, but we're going to give you guys the link to this book. We hope it will bless you. We know it's going to bless you. Thank you for writing this book, Stacy.
You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. It's not about me, it's about others.
That's right.
All righty. So, well, thank you.
I'm going to work on some good guilty pleasures. I love to travel. I think that's a great guilty pleasure. I'm learning to work out more and take better care of myself. So I'm going to make that a good guilty pleasure.
Absolutely.
I'm going to work on the shopping. I am. I'm going to work on it. That's all I can commit to right now.
I ain't going to commit to that.
Oh, well, like
Let me
you
work
said,
on
if it's
something
not
else. I'll
hurting
work
somebody and it's not hurting you, it's fine.
I'll
But
work on something else.
I got a few filled up closets that's convicting me, so we're gonna try to slow down a little bit.
All right.
Well, let's close it out.
Let's go ahead and close it out until next time, C&G fam. And as we always say, take some time to show yourself some love.
Yes.
And indulge in those guilty pleasures if they're not hurting nobody or yourself. Show yourself some love.
And also take some time to show somebody else some love too. Mental health is real, guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
Till next time.
Peace.
Thanks for watching Coffee and Gumbo. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Come back soon for more hot, spicy, and flavorful conversation.